Today we're going to be talking about the value of a music degree, and there is none.
Wow. Whoa,
Have a good one.
Boom. Coming with the hot fire.
So yeah, welcome into the Musicology podcast. Go download the DrumTrax app. I am Legendarius51,
Sam God.
My name's Devani.
the founder of the DrumTrax app.
Founder of the DrumTrax app. I did do that, didn't I? No, at the end of the day, I think I don't know, man. Like, is there really value in the music? I think it depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to be a music teacher,
Yes.
then there's lots of value.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In a music degree. If you're trying to be a teacher or teaching at the collegiate level or anything like that, you definitely,
Yep.
or even at the high school level, like, you got to get the degree. They're not letting you in the school to teach.
Yep. You have to have it.
Well, that's not quite true, because you can get in with just a teaching credential. You don't necessarily have to have a music degree to be a teacher.
Can you get a teaching credential without a degree?
You have to have a degree of some kind to get the teaching credential, right? I
No.
heard recently they might have been more lenient on that because they need more teachers or something.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
They're like, listen, we'll lower the standards.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
long
but-
as some of you guys come in here and work,
well-
like we need somebody to come do something.
Well, yes, because it's a couple of different things that we're looking at. So to be able to teach, you need a teacher's credential. Most of the time, to be able to be hired, they want you to have a degree, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
So you're telling me that if I wanted to teach English at a high school, I don't have to have an English degree?
Correct. I don't think that necessarily applies everywhere.
Okay.
But there are places where you really just have to have the teaching credential, but you most of the time can't get hired if you don't have the degree.
But
it's not a
I mean,
requirement per se.
in music, I feel like, if you don't have a music degree, someone else with a music degree is going to get that job. You know what I mean? Because
Like
usually,
if you're trying to be a teacher?
if you're trying to teach band in high school or something
yeah.
like that, there's going to be someone else with a music degree that's going to be like, nah, I want that job, and they're probably going to hire him because
Unless you know principal.
musicians are usually like fighting for these gigs, like unless you know the principal. Yeah,
Or whoever's doing the hiring.
that too.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I am not trying to be a traditional music teacher at a school. I haven't pursued that. So I don't know. I didn't even know that you didn't need. I thought you needed a degree. I totally thought that.
You need it in the sense that you probably won't get hired, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
So it's like,
Well, and to teach at a college level, you need to have at least a master's.
Yes.
Now, college level is different. Yeah.
I mean, that's in like any subject, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, that's.
And those are the better paying teaching jobs,
So I got at the end of the day, do they get paid well?
no.
At a college level.
At a college
Do
level,
they?
you can.
Well, I mean,
but
that probably depends on the school.
Decent.
Well, what level of college? Like if you're at
Well, community college isn't going to be as good. But
right.
Well, and even at some university, it's not that good because I know around here a lot of the teachers that teach at like Sac State, teach at UOP, they also supplement by teaching at the community colleges, a couple of classes here and there.
Right. Well, and here's another value to a music degree. I think you make connections at certain schools.
Yes.
Some schools, you're probably not going to make that many connections, to be honest. You get a music degree from Sac State, you're not going to make that many connections, but you get a music degree from New School in New York or something like that,
You're connected.
like you're going to
well
meet
connected.
people, but a lot of that is because you're in New York, or
But
if you
but is that getting a degree or is that just going to the school?
it's going to the school.
So you can go to the school, not get the degree, and still have the benefits
and you
of
might
just
make
going.
the connections.
Make the
Yeah.
connections.
Yeah, but also having the degree just opens up all kind of other stuff in the sense of a degree is nothing but saying it's like saying I can complete something.
Yeah.
Like,
It does
that's-
show that you can follow through.
Yeah.
So people look at you different.
Yeah.
But really in the music world, from what I've seen, it's more just about can you play and, do you have professional, like are you punctual and stuff like that? But above all, can you play?
Then are you a good person? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's why I say it depends on what you want to do, right? If you want to teach, you probably need a degree if you're trying to get hired at a school or something like that. In the traditional sense. If you want to start your own teaching practice, you don't need anything but the ability to get results for your students. If you're able to get results, and again, just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great teacher. You know how that goes, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. Straight up.
But if you can teach and you can help someone who is not so great become better, then you can do that and start your own thing. Many drummers have started doing that, whether it's in person or online. But in terms of like, if you just want to be a performing musician, well, it depends on what you want to do. Again, like if you're trying to play for a hip hop artist or even a jazz artist, like at the end of the day, you just got to be able to play the stuff. You got to be able to do the thing.
Practice.
And know, and then relationships and all that. I don't know if you going to school plays a role, because like every musician that I know who has had a professional career playing for A-list artists, I'm talking about musicians that have played for like Lionel Richie, musicians who have played for like big name, international name artists, none of them have a music degree. I don't know any of them who have even gone to school for music whatsoever.
Right.
Well,
at
okay,
all.
so there's
But I'm not saying there's no value in going, but I don't know if the degree itself
It's about
carries.
learning, you know?
Yes.
Like I've taken some classes recently from Joe Gilman over at American River College just to learn more about jazz theory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful because he's a great teacher.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not about the degree so much. It's just taking the right classes where you're actually learning something that's like filling a gap in your knowledge.
And it's so
basically.
interesting that when you're studying something like jazz in school, you're studying an art form that was created not in school or by guys who were not traditionally trained in this thing.
Charlie Parker did not go to school for music. He just played all the time.
And Miles Davis dropped out of school to go learn the jazz that was happening in New York, the bebop that was coming along, that was being made in the 40s. He dropped out of Juilliard, and his dad sent him, like, just imagine that, being a black kid in the 40s from St. Louis, I believe he was from, moved to New York because his father sent him to school. His dad had enough money. First of all, that's nuts. His dad had enough money to send his son to Juilliard in New York, and he drops out to go learn jazz and
to hang out in smelly bars and hang out with Charlie Parker, who's doing
Dizzy
heroin.
Dizzy Gillespie, and they become, and this whole thing happens that we now study in school.
You know what's nuts about that? I knew a guy, and God bless the dead, he passed away, but he was an older guy, and he was talking about having met Miles a few times, and met Coltrane once or twice, and he was like, it's crazy that now the niggas that had to walk in the back door and couldn't even, now they're the curriculum.
Yeah, right.
Like it's nuts. Like
and I think that's kind of it's homogenized people's like musical vocabulary a little bit. Like you can tell when someone's playing and they've just only been to school and they haven't had a lot of real world experience, because there's just this way that they teach the music that kind of just homogenizes it and makes it more the opposite of what the spirit of jazz and improvisational music is supposed to be, in my mind, where it's about evolution.
And it was experimenting and pushing the boundaries, and a lot of people at that time told those musicians that what they were doing was wild. Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or it's wrong,
Right, because it wasn't what was already being done.
It's looked down upon at the time.
Then it got super popular, and now it is, of course, this classic thing that we study in school, which is ironic. But at the end of the day, I think that none of those guys went to school, and you don't need to go to school to be a dope musician. If the path that you want to take as a career requires you go to school, then it makes sense. Also, like you stated earlier, one of the benefits of going to school is to meet people. There is something to be said about being around a group of people who all have a common goal in mind, like being the best they can on their instrument. And you're all around each other all of the time. And there's accountability at some of these schools where they require practice hours, right? And you have to go into the practice rooms and spend the time practicing in there, and your friend is also doing it and he's getting better.
It's a way to meet other musicians that you can grow with if you don't have that. I mean,
community.
like I was saying on the other podcast, like I had these guys in my jazz band in high school that we wanted to push each other.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Not everyone had, and we started gigging and stuff when we were like 16.
Yeah.
You know, we started actually playing professionally, but not everyone has that.
Right.
You know, you might be the only one in your town that's really into the music like that.
And it may be a good idea to go to somewhere where other people are into the music like that. So you can continue to be pushed. You have that community and that accountability, whether that accountability is a teacher or that accountability is, you know, going to a jam and getting your butt handed to you and, you know, now you're being held accountable.
Oh man,
for your
jam sessions.
Yeah.
That's
Jam
school
sessions,
right there.
Well, and now there are different things of, like you said, the jam session is a school. Getting your butt kicked in the Henry Robinette is a version of school. But also, I just thought about classical musicians. I wonder how much school plays in that, because we're kind of talking about it.
Oh yeah.
But
well, and my brother's a classical musician, and he has a doctorate.
Yeah.
Like he did all the school. Like we're the opposite, because I play jazz and R&B and stuff like that, and he plays only classical. And he has done all the school.
Yeah, like there's no more school left for him to do, right?
But
I imagine that a lot of classical players get good in school, whereas for us, we get good.
Well, yeah, because it's a lot harder to just throw together your own orchestra on your own.
That's a lot of people. And when you're playing classical music, a lot of the times, like when you're reading the sheet, you get good at reading the sheet. You learn the history, you learn all this stuff, dive into the culture of that style of music on all the different eras, and you know that comes with it. But when you're playing the stuff, for the majority of there are some musicians who play that interpret pieces how they want to interpret them, but like most of the time, the interpretation is written on the page, like when to get big, when to decrescendo, when, like all of the articulations of the notes and the dynamics of the notes are written on the page. And so that is a whole nother thing, like to really dive deep in and study, while the music that we're talking about that we tend to play has more of a personal interpretation. And we're more on the artistic side. I'm not saying people that play classical music are not artistic, because there's lots of composers and people who, like I said, I told you guys in between when we were filming that, I went to a symphony show not too long ago, and the music is beautiful, but those musicians that are up there are playing what is on the page that the composer wrote. And I got a chance to talk to the guy who leads the band or put the whole thing together, the whole show, and he was talking about how they do not like when someone tries to reinterpret what's on the page.
Straight up.
You're trying to like enact the vision of that composer.
Yes.
You know, that's the goal.
Right, and every time that you hear this piece, if it's played right, it's the way the composer intended it, not your version of it that night. And they can take their pieces of music anywhere in the world and hire whoever that knows how to read and can interpret what is written on the page so that it is the exact same way no matter who's playing it. That's like the vibe. And it was funny, I seen a post on Instagram the other day. Richard Smallwood, he's a gospel legend, like everybody knows him.
I saw that post.
And I laughed so hard because he said, there's a song called Total Praise that everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Smallwood is the writer and composer of that song. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song that churches and people still sing to this day. That's going to be one of the songs that just continues to be sung forever. Yeah. And the first chord of the song is a C sharp or D flat major. The second chord of the song is a B flat minor. But many musicians in church do play that chord as a G flat minor with a G flat major with B flat in the bass. And he wrote in his post, he said, I get beautiful arrangements almost every day of people rearranging my song in these beautiful arrangements. He said, but I want you to know that if I hear you play a G flat major over B flat where it's supposed to be a B flat minor, which literally is there's only one note difference.
Yeah, it's like the F sharp instead of the F. Yeah.
That's it. But do you know how often that happens?
Right.
He says, because it sounds a little more modern too when you do it that way.
Right.
And it's a really smooth sound and it doesn't really hurt the harmonies that bad. But he says, I just want you to know when you do that, I stop listening immediately. I don't hear, you could have done all these other beautiful things, but as soon as I hear that you did that, I stop listening immediately. And I just want you to know that there was a B flat minor written there for a reason.
It's a reason.
Please respect what the composer wrote.
Right.
And so and he's more of a classical vibe in gospel music. He does a lot of classical themed things.
And that song has a classical
huge
vibe
classical vibe too, but a lot of his stuff was like that. Yeah. So I mean, so I guess you're right, bro. It depends on whatever what music are you doing? What are your goals?
And classical musicians have a different mindset, a different approach to music. They want the music on the page.
Yes.
Yes.
You know? So I would see how that would be a lot more. It's like more fitting for like a school, like institution kind of environment.
Right, because you're not look. It's like you go to school to learn about science. You're not trying to some people try to become scientists, but when you're in school, you're not. You're in school, you're trying to figure out and learn about what the other people have discovered, and that's what you're studying, and that's the thing, and you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. There are modern composers these days. I know that people are continuing to create, and there are artists. It's just that I don't know any of them. And every classical musician that I know always complains about not being able to play if there's no page in front of them.
Right.
I'm not saying that is true for all classical musicians, because there is an artist on YouTube. I think her name is Nari Soul. This girl, she plays piano, and she's a classically trained piano, and she's one of the most phenomenal pianist I've ever seen.
Asian lady?
Yes.
Yeah, she's nasty.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous. And she composes a lot of stuff too.
Did you see those 2-5 exercises she was doing a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, and I said, I can't practice everything. I want everything she posts. I'd be like, that's what I'm about to practice for the next year.
Yeah.
For the next year.
And I might have it down.
But she posts so many amazing things, because obviously she has finger technique that I've never seen anyone have in my life. But she's one of those people that is a creative, and you can see it in her videos.
Right,
you can see it she experiments and explores other things, but she also goes back to her classical thing too, and it's all phenomenal. So I'm not saying that classical musicians are not creative and they don't. An artist is an artist is an artist is an artist. If you are one, you are one. And it doesn't matter what genre you're playing. But I think if you are trying to ask the question, should I go to school? It just depends on what you're trying to do. You can go to school, not graduate, and still reap the benefits of a lot of people who go to school because of the community and the people. I honestly think that your skill level and the people that you meet in your relationships will take you further than just a degree by itself. The degree.
Dedication
Oh,
to
yeah.
it.
And if you do go to school, it's better to go to a school that's more geared towards music, because a lot of the teachers are going to be people that actually have professional, in the field experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some schools, all the teachers just went straight from college
To the classroom.
to teaching.
You went from the classroom to the classroom.
Right. So what do you know about gigs? You don't know anything about gigs. But if you go to Berkeley or New School, your teachers are going to be people that have gigged professionally and stuff like that.
Or may still be gigging professionally.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're going to get more realistic knowledge,
While we were talking about the classical, I'm thinking shout out to just the vastly different worlds, because I wrote with the homie Anthony Ty. We wrote a concerto, and bruh, how much we had to spend hours rewriting, because we're coming from being jazz heads to writing this concerto. So rhythms that we were writing, they couldn't necessarily compute the swing of it. Mm-hmm. And like you were talking about, you have to write every articulation.
Yeah.
So while I'm used to being able to write a lead sheet and just, all right, here.
Right.
Now we have to write every single note, every articulation. In this particular thing, it was for a college concert band, a college orchestra. So we weren't allowed to have rests. So the conductor was like, this is college. They're supposed to be getting experience. You can't have somebody resting for 100 measures.
Yeah.
Just because you don't want flugelhorn at that time. Write them apart. Or have them double this part or something like that. So it was... So
100 measures is a long time. He could pack up, go home, come back.
Right.
But that's what happens when you're playing the crash cymbals or something like that.
Straight up. But then, I don't know if you've ever played in those, but a lot of times and you probably already know this and see this, but for you guys, what'll happen is who's ever playing the crash cymbal is also playing the wood block and the triangle.
Well, yeah, I
and
used to do
four
that.
other things.
I mean, I played percussion in like
Yeah.
high school.
I
band
played
and stuff like
snare drum in junior high. I wanted to play the drum set, but we didn't have one at our school.
Couldn't do it.
And so I played. Well, first they gave me a saxophone because they already had someone else playing
Bro, hey,
the snare drum.
straight up,
It's like, learn
in junior
this.
high, I wanted to play drums, and I ended up playing tenor sax.
Yeah, I was playing alto. I wonder what would have happened if I stayed with that. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I figured out how to like put 3-4 notes together that made sense
It's
to me
so
back
hard
then.
to get one note.
I was able to get one note. You know, I just had to make sure that I didn't split my reed because I would like end up like chewing on it or something for some reason. You know, I would just leave the horn halfway. That was just weird. I don't know what I was doing. I was in
You ate
seventh
a
grade.
lot of barbecue, so your legs
I
start
did.
tasting like smoked
I
chicken.
did eat a lot of barbecue. My dad barbecued. It's very facts. But yeah, man. So I guess at the end of the day, the question what's the value of a degree? It's up to you. It depends on what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
I know people who went to music schools, and while I went to junior college in my city and learned the exact same thing, literally.
Yes.
Yeah, don't spend a bunch of money unless you have a plan.
Right.
That's something I would definitely recommend.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not a fan of spending, $40,000 for a few semesters to go to learn some stuff that you can learn for free.
I mean, you could move to New York or something like that and just start going to jam sessions and networking with people.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best education you can get.
Right. Don't do that if you don't already know how to play, though. Like, if you just don't know how to play, and you're not really good. Matter of fact, you probably shouldn't invest in music school. You should invest in some lessons with a personal teacher.
Yeah.
And listen to a whole bunch of stuff.
No, still go to the jam session. Just go to the jam session in Modesto.
Yo,
Not in
Modesto.
not in New York.
No, you go to the jam session in New York. Just don't ask to get on.
Right.
Just watch.
Watch for a while.
Soak
But I
it
mean,
in.
to me, the best music school is practicing. If
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
want to sit down at your instrument for at least like 4 hours a day, then I mean, you probably shouldn't be playing music.
Straight up.
We spend
Just
time,
pick a different career,
What you're really
you know?
saying is it becomes a lifestyle, but it gets difficult though for people who pick up the instrument when they're 25 or when they pick up the instrument when they're 35 and there's
Right.
life involved, and you have all these other things and you can't be at the instrument for 4 to 6 hours a day because you get up in the morning, you got to go to work, and you got to pick up the kids from school, and then your daughter got soccer practice, and all of that type of stuff, and you get an hour a day in. I mean, if you can get an hour a day in, cool, take the hour a day. But what Sam is really talking about is like, hey, for you kids who are talking about going to music school,
Yeah.
make sure that you're 100%.
If you're trying to be like making a career out of this, if you want this to be what you do for a living,
you got to pay the price.
Yeah.
And if you can only get that hour a day, be very intentional about what you're practicing and how you're practicing.
If you get 4 hours a day, be very intentional
Yeah.
about it. Because I mean, this is a whole other podcast. I actually, in 2021, at the end of 2021, I did an entire 5-part video series about how to never struggle at getting better on your instrument again, and it has everything to do with how you practice.
That was a little serious.
Most people don't know. Most people who say they're practicing for 4 to 5 hours, 8 hours a day, they're lying. They're not telling the truth. They sit down, they may play their instrument. But playing your instrument is not the same as practicing. There's like, someone told me a while ago, like, are you practicing or are you just rehearsing? I was like, what do you mean? Rehearsing is when you take what you already know and you're just playing it again.
Yeah.
Like you're playing a bunch of stuff you know. That's fine. You're reinforcing it, but like, what did you learn anything new? Are you getting better at anything that you are not already good at?
Wait,
Right.
So do you consider that reinforcement not practice?
I consider it not getting better.
Okay, I can dig that.
I consider it just being a thing that helps you continue to be able to do what you already know how to do. And there is a thing that's to be said for maintenance. But if you're trying to grow, which is what we're talking about, that's the reason we practice.
Just to grow.
Then you need to be working on things that you're not already good at and spending your time focusing in a way that helps you get there. You need to know what you're trying to get better at. You need to create a plan and a path, a set of habits, because at the end of the day, your skill is a direct result of your practice routine. And if you can practice in a way that allows you to reach your goal, And sometimes it may not be practicing directly the thing that you're trying to get better at, because there's this other aspect of your playing that needs to improve so that you can actually do the thing that you're trying to get better at.
Yes.
You may
Straight up.
discover that,
You got to go
I-
around this way to get here.
because I forgot to pick up this skill and I need it for this.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you didn't
Straight
have the
up.
foundational skills in your toolkit yet.
Right. So, I mean,
Fundamentals.
I think we got to wrap up, but I want to wrap up with the smoke. Let me just wrap up with the smoke.
go ahead.
If you have a music degree, it does not make you better than those who do not have a music degree. And stop acting like you're better just because you learned a couple of terms in the daggone classroom, because there are people out here who played in the real world and really know how to play. Okay? Let's go.
At the end of the day, it is what it is. I tell people this all the time about theory. Real talk. This is a real thing. I tell people about theory all the time, because musicians used to think that I thought that I was better, especially church musicians who didn't know theory.
Yeah.
And if I said like, yo, yeah, no, can you just say A major 7? They would think that I was trying to sun them, and I would tell them, no. I'm no different than you. You hear the same thing I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I just know the name of it. That's all. That's all
Right.
theory is putting a name to the things you hear. When my nieces and nephews were 2 years old, they saw a dog, they would call it a wow wow.
Right.
But they knew what a dog was.
Right.
And it was cute when they were 2. But when they turned 3, 4, 5, my brother, who is their father, said, that's a dog. And now they call it a dog. But they already knew what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Easy.
just gave them the name. So now when they see a dog and they hear a dog, they just call it a dog.
Yeah.
So if I see, or if I hear a double stroke roll, or hear a paradiddle, or I hear a pentatonic scale, or whatever, I already knew what it was. I just have the name for it now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's
And
all
that's
people mean
good
with theory.
stuff to know. I mean,
Yeah.
don't stop on the quest for knowledge.
Right.
Even if you're not getting a degree.
Period.
Learn all that theory and stuff, because that's important. But you can learn that stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
I mean, you can
On the DrumTrax app.
on the
DrumTrax app. Download it right now.
Period.
And on this video, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. And, it's the Musicology Podcast. It's Legendary. It's 51.
I'm Sam God.
And my name's Damani. I'm the founder of DrumTrax. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Fam, it's your boy Damani. I hope you enjoyed the video that you just watched, and I hope you liked the video. I hope you left a comment, and I wanted to invite you into DrumTrax Premium. We literally have over 350 drum lessons, over 300 by now, drumless tracks, a community in the private Facebook group of drummers that we go live with and do live drum coaching every single week. We want to help you find your voice and explore your creativity on the drums, and we can do that with DrumTrax Premium. It's only 99 cents to sign up, so you can find the links in the description of this video. And also, if you're just looking to stream tracks, you can also find our streaming subscription, where you can stream all of the tracks and all of the tracks that we ever add for just $5.99 a month. And if you're looking for more content, you can click one of the videos that are showing up on the screen right now and check them out. All right, fam? I look forward to seeing you in more videos, and I look forward to seeing you in DrumTrax Premium. All right, fam. Peace.